Hey, thanks for dropping by to Can't Let Her Die DIY. If you found this video, you must be having problems with no heat. Maybe you've just recently changed the thermostat or the water pump or flushed out your cooling system or drained your radiator, refilled it, and you introduced air into your coolant system. If that's what's happened, that air bubble may have worked its way up to the heating core and caused a blockage, an air block. That's an easy fix. Hopefully that's what's going on. If that's what happened, maybe you should try this. It worked for me. You see these F-150s and a lot of the other trucks, their heating core is located at the highest position in the whole system. So if you introduce air into the system by changing out a thermostat or a water pump, that air bubble goes up to the heating core and it cannot purge itself. That's the highest point. It cannot go downhill. So it stays there and blocks your heating core from any hot radiator fluid that would normally heat up your heating core. We can drive that air bubble out of your heating core. I'll show you. Come here.
First thing you want to do is add some radiator coolant to your radiator canister right here. Go above the cold fill line, about an inch above the cold fill line. In case we're successful, that bubble will come, work its way here, and it will be replaced by the extra radiator fluid. We don't want this to run low and introduce more air into your system. Before you try this process, you want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. But if your truck is cold, your vehicle is cold, you want to just start it up, right? And let it idle for like 20 seconds so we can get some oil to the top of the engine and all that stuff before we start this process. So after about 20 seconds, what we need to do is drive that air bubble out of the heating core. So if you want to crank it, press the throttle up to 3,000 or 3,500. And hold it there for 30 seconds. That'll activate the water pump sufficiently enough with enough force to force through that heating core and pull any air bubbles with it as it goes through the system. So that's what we're trying to do. And you never really drive like this. I mean, you may get to this when you're shifting and that sort of stuff, but you really need a sustained 30-second interval of maximum water pump pressure going through your heating core. And that way it will force those bubbles or carry those bubbles with it, disperse the bubble and carry microscopic bubbles throughout the system. And then after 30 seconds, you can just let it go back down to idle and wait there for 30 seconds. The water pump will continue to circulate and the bubbles will reform. So we're assuming now that most of the bubbles have moved from the heating core to other areas of the heating system, of the cooling system, and they're now reforming, and hopefully they're working their way to the canister there, the fluid canister. So after 30 seconds of idle, we will turn it off and leave that for a minute. The smaller air bubbles are forming into larger air bubbles in a different area of the system. Maybe they've made their way to the canister. You probably got most of them, maybe not all of them. And now we wait for 1 minute. After allowing your vehicle to rest for 1 minute, we're going to do it again. But this time, we're going to let the engine heat up to operating temperature. So we're going to turn it on. Okay. Now we're going to let it idle until it gets up to operating temperature. Then we're going to try this again. This time, the thermostat will be triggered because it hits operating temperature. The thermostat will open up. So more of the system opens up, allowing more of the bubbles to be forced along to the fluid canister. And we'll get the remaining bubbles out, any remaining blockage. Now, once you get to full operating temperature, which is right there on my truck, you also notice when your engine fan's engaged, then you're at operating temperature. And now we do it again. Depress the throttle and get to 3,000 or 3,500 RPMs. And we maintain that for 30 seconds. Hopefully driving the last of the bubbles out of the heating core, carrying those bubbles, dispersing them throughout the fluid, but carrying them to the radiator canister where they'll be purged there, and it'll be replaced with coolant. So the system is open now, the thermostat is wide open, and the engine is being cooled, and we get full circulation of the radiator fluid. So once you do that for 30 seconds, we can ease off on the throttle, let it come down, and then we'll just let the fluid carry the remaining bubbles to the canister by just letting it idle for 30 seconds. And then we turn it off and we leave it for a minute. Let the bubbles reform. If there's any bubbles left, reform, and we'll try this again. So after a minute, you can try it again, and then we test. Now after a minute, we can start it up. Turn the heat on here. And you should be getting some heat coming out at idle. You may have to do this process 3 to 5 times, but after 4 times mine was working perfectly, like really hot at idle. So hopefully you have the same amount of luck as I do.
Okay, so remember, it's 30 seconds idle, 30 seconds at 3,500 RPMs, and then 30 seconds idle again, and then a minute rest. That's the cycle. Do that 3 to 5 times, and you should be good. Good and gold. It works for me, works for the F-150s. I think it works for a lot of vehicles. I'm just going to stay here and enjoy my newfound heat. If you want more videos, come over to Can't Let Her Die DIY. Just search that, you'll find me. Lots of F-150 videos, Chevy Colorado videos for you. I'll see you in the next video. You got this.